This is crazy! So, Sumit, you recently wrote a blog about how we might see the world's first trillionaire in the not-so-distant future. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, you might have heard that Elon Musk recently became the first person ever to reach a net worth of $400 billion. I think it got up to as high as $480 billion or something crazy like that. And of course, that's half of the way to $1 trillion. So naturally, I asked the question, when might we see the world's first trillionaire and who might it be? Is it definitely going to be Elon or could it be someone else? And then that raises all sorts of other questions like, what would the existence of trillionaires mean for society? Is it a good thing or a bad thing?
Oof! Trillionaires! It's like Monopoly, but on nightmare mode. $1 trillion is an insane amount of money.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to wrap your mind around just how much money that is. In the piece I wrote, I tried to make it a little more understandable by saying, okay, if you put that $1 trillion into US government treasury bills and earn the risk-free rate of return, 5% or whatever it is, how much money will you generate per year? And the answer is $50 billion per year, which is absolutely enormous. And it's more than the GDP of half of the world's countries, literally. If you take all of the goods and services that a country like Latvia produces, for example, and you add up their value, you get $46 billion, which is less than the amount of money than that trillionaire could make by investing in treasury bills. It's insane.
So wait, this trillionaire could just sit around binge-watching Netflix and still out-earn an entire country? That's wild. Who's most likely to pull that off first?
Well, Elon definitely has the advantage, right? He's already at more than $400 billion, so he just has to 2x or 2.5x his net worth to get there. The next richest person is Jeff Bezos with around $250 billion, followed by Mark Zuckerberg, who has around $220 billion. So they need a 4x or 5x their wealth to get to $1 trillion, which is a much steeper hill to climb.
Wow, so Elon is pretty far ahead.
Definitely. The thing, though, is Elon's companies, whether it be Tesla, SpaceX, or XAI, have extremely rich valuations. And those valuations are dependent on his companies growing and delivering these really futuristic products that the market expects. Investors want to see Tesla launch robo-taxis, humanoid robots, and things like that. So if it can do that, then Elon has a great shot of becoming the world's first trillionaire. If not, then some of these other guys might beat him to it.
So when could this happen? Are we talking about next year, or is this one of those futuristic Jetsons timeline things?
I think if Elon becomes the world's first trillionaire, we could see it happen relatively soon, in the next few years even. Tesla is trying really hard to bring fully autonomous vehicles to market in the next handful of years. And if it's successful, that could push Tesla shares sharply higher. And since Tesla makes up the majority of Elon's net worth, that'll give him a big boost. On the other hand, if it's someone like Zuckerberg who gets to $1 trillion first, and personally I think he has the second best chance to become the world's first trillionaire, then it might take a little bit longer. Zuckerberg owns about 13.5% of Meta, so for him to reach $1 trillion net worth, the company would need to be valued at roughly $7.5 trillion, up from $1.5 trillion currently. Depending what growth rate you project for the company, that could take anywhere from 5 to 10 years to happen.
Got it. So if Elon's the hare in this race, Zuckerberg is more like the tortoise. But with VR goggles, what about the bigger picture? What does someone controlling so much wealth mean for the world?
It's an interesting question. Like I alluded to earlier, $1 trillion is equal to the wealth of entire countries. So to have that in the hands of one man is just mind-boggling. Now, what it means for the world ultimately comes down to how any trillionaire ends up using that wealth. Do they just sit on it and not do too much with it? Do they just keep living their lives, building businesses, buying luxury yachts and houses and things like that? Or do they try to influence politics and shape society in a more dramatic way? We've always kind of had rich people do things to try to influence society, right? By buying media outlets and things like that, but never at the scale that Elon Musk is doing those things. So if he becomes even wealthier, he could take it to a whole nother level by influencing not just what happens in America, but all around the world. It's going to be really interesting to watch over the next several years.
Man, that's a lot to think about. Trillionaires could either be our Tony Starks or our Lex Luthors. Well said, Smeet.